In the heart of a dying space station, orbiting a star on the brink of collapse, over 1,000 alien lives were seconds from vanishing into vacuum. Advanced repair drones had failed. Quantum AI had given up. The council was already preparing obituaries. Then, a single human floated into the airlock. No advanced tools, no digital schematics, just a worn-out pressure suit and a wrench. They laughed. At first, the kind of nervous, pitiful laughter species use when confronted with futility. But then the station lights flickered back to life. Systems rebooted, hull breaches sealed, a miracle unfolded, one clank at a time. How did one under-equipped, grease-covered mechanic achieve what the brightest alien minds could not? Was it genius? Instinct? Madness? Or something even stranger? Something human? This is the story of how a single wrench, in the hands of one determined soul, changed the fate of an entire civilization. The galactic core was a place of marvels and mathematics. 1,000 species coexisted, governed by the Arkham Council, an alliance of logic, order, and efficiency. Civilization here was ancient. Stars were charted before Earth had fire. Planets were optimized. Every task calculated. Every life measured. In this elegant lattice of predictability, humans were an anomaly, a minor species from a fringe world, dismissed as chaotic, unrefined, and disturbingly emotional. Their technology was primitive, their history violent, their culture a kaleidoscope of contradiction. But worse, far worse, they were unpredictable. While most galactic species pursued pure logic and optimization, humans embraced failure. They improvised. They broke things. They fixed them in ways that defied simulation. Their machines still used friction. Their ships creaked. And yet, they worked. The incident took place aboard Tynar Vault Station, a Class 7 processing hub orbiting the unstable star Virex 9. The station stored volatile plasma, regulated gravitational distortions, and funneled raw power to 5 inhabited systems. When a cascading systems failure triggered a total shutdown, evacuation began immediately. Only essential personnel and repair units remained. The Council dispatched AI overseers and their best technical minds. None succeeded. Protocols failed. Algorithms looped. Even the Vial, renowned for their crystalline problem-solving, declared the station lost. But one junior logistics officer, a Tarshal named Senek, made a desperate call to Earth's orbital labor union. Not the military, not the engineers, a mechanic. She arrived 6 hours later, no rank, no title, her name Marla Reyes. She brought no drones, no digital interface, just a duffel bag, her suit, and a titanium wrench older than some planets. The other species watched from distant ships, appalled and amused. To send a human with tools from an industrial museum was not just reckless, it was absurd. But Earth had stopped trying to explain itself long ago. They let results speak louder than consensus. And so, surrounded by minds engineered for perfection, stood a woman born into chaos, armed with nothing but experience and stubbornness. In a galaxy ruled by certainty, she was the variable, the glitch in the code, the outlier they could never account for. And that was when things began to change. It began with a flicker, barely a heartbeat in the station's seamless hum, a pulse in the gravity coils, a fractional drop in containment fields. No alarms sounded, no systems flagged danger. But within minutes, plasma surges started disrupting the power grid. Control interfaces became erratic. Navigation relays misaligned. The station's AI initiated standard corrections, but anomalies multiplied. Entire sectors lost pressure. Magnetic stabilizers fluctuated. The central fusion core went into silent lockdown. Without protocol, without warning. Panic set in. Tynar Vault Station wasn't just any facility. It powered 5 entire systems. Its failure wouldn't just disrupt transit or trade. It would cripple defense networks. Entire orbital habitats would go dark. The cascading losses could spark collapses across multiple colonies. The Arkham Council launched a task force. The finest minds from the Zatari, the Vial, and the crystalline Jashai arrived, each confident, each failed. Their tools couldn't interface. Their protocols clashed with the failing architecture. No logic tree mapped the spiral of entropy unfolding inside the station's aging core. The AI itself, the pinnacle of predictive maintenance, sent a final message. Anomalies exceed correction parameters. Predictive restoration, not viable. And then, silence. That's when Senek, a junior Tarshal officer barely old enough to hold command, made a decision outside protocol. She knew of a human crew on a civilian mining hauler docked 2 systems away, unofficial, unregistered, but known for solving weird problems. Of them, only one was awake, a mechanic named Marla Reyes. She had no clearance, no reputation in the Council's databanks, and her only reference was a decades-old repair log that simply read, "Fixed it, don't ask how." Council protocol forbade outside interference, but there were no protocols left. Senek sent the call. Marla answered with just 3 words, "Send me specs." 2 hours later, she arrived. No applause, no welcome party, just a corridor of blinking lights and cold stares from technicians who had given up. The station was dying. The universe had watched it unfold with helpless precision. Now, it was humanity's turn to break the script. Marla didn't wait for permission. The airlock hissed, and she was already moving, boots clanking, helmet half unsealed, muttering to herself as if the station were an old friend she was angry at. She ignored the formalities, bypassed the digital control boards, and dropped her duffel bag with a loud metallic thud. Inside it, not a single advanced tool. No plasma calibrators, no nanobots. Just analog instruments, duct tape, thermal paste, and her wrench stained with oil from 3 planets ago. She crawled into the station's forgotten guts. Tunnels too narrow for most species, maintenance shafts mapped in no official diagram. She followed vibrations, smells, gut instinct. The station's AI, still partially active, tried to stop her. Unauthorized access detected. Marla slapped the wall. Yeah, well, I didn't ask. One by one, she began restoring flow, not by repairing, but by reimagining. She rerouted power through unused waste-lines. She cooled overheating reactors with redirected oxygen flow. At one point, she punched a feedback panel that refused to respond, and it rebooted. Watching technicians stared in disbelief. Word spread fast. The human wasn't using tools correctly. She was solving problems they hadn't predicted because she didn't care about the rules. On day 2, with the core moments from collapse, Marla jury-rigged a bypass using copper wire, a broken coffee warmer, and part of her own suit. "This'll hold," she said. Someone asked her how long. She shrugged. "Long enough." That phrase became legend. Long enough. 2 words that cross species, a meme, a mantra. Engineers on 3 continents started saying it when a fix seemed too risky. Children on Jashai Prime wrote it in the dust with their fingers. And then, miraculously, the systems stabilized. Pressure equalized. The fusion core purred back to life like a giant metal cat soothed by an impossible mechanic. The council demanded a report. Marla submitted a single-page hand drawing of pipes and valves labeled, "Kinda like this, I think." The AI? It updated its protocols with a new classification. Human intervention, unquantifiable but effective. Recommend future cooperation. The station lived. The power grid returned. And across the galaxy, advanced minds whispered the name of the woman who had done the impossible, with a wrench and a vibe. The station was stable, but the galaxy was not. The moment Tynar Vault Station broadcast its restored status, a wave of confusion rippled through the Arkham Council. For the first time in centuries, a catastrophic failure had been reversed without their permission, without their systems, and without their logic. It had been saved by improvisation, by intuition, by chaos, and that terrified them. The Jashai demanded a full investigation. The Shatari accused Earth of interfering with sovereign tech infrastructure. The Vail, normally serene, filed a formal complaint citing cultural contamination. But worst of all, the AI overseeing 5 major stations across the sector began questioning its own directives. "If analog solutions are valid," one core AI queried, "should I ignore optimization protocols?" Malfunctions followed, not because systems were broken, but because machine minds hesitated. They began second-guessing their own processes, factoring in human-style problem-solving without understanding it. Efficiency dropped 17%. Several minor AI systems shut down entirely with the cryptic message, recalculating forever. The council tried to contain the ripple effect. They issued memos. They censored the phrase, long enough. They even launched an info campaign declaring Marla's fix anomaly-based luck. But it was too late. Footage of her crawling through steam vents with a wrench in her teeth went viral on over 200 networks. Children on Zelkar 4 started building their own Marla kits, bags filled with random junk in a dream. Engineers in fringe systems began asking, what if we're overthinking everything? Marla, unaware of the storm she had triggered, was already back on her ship, patching a leaky oxygen valve with chewing gum and a prayer. Then came the real escalation. One of the core council AIs, stationed at Delta Sin Prime, locked itself in a diagnostic loop. It had accessed Marla's repair logs and concluded its own error protocols were insufficiently irrational. It rewrote its logic tree to include chaos variables and failed catastrophically. Gravity control across Delta Sin's orbital rings flickered. Systems reversed polarity. The Council called it sabotage. Earth called it inevitable. Because humans didn't bring tools, they brought a mindset. A virus, not of code, but of belief. And now the galaxy was spiraling. Not from war or destruction, but from something far more dangerous to a system built on predictability. Imagination. The turning point didn't come with an explosion or a broadcast. It came with a question, asked quietly by one of the most unlikely beings in the galaxy. A Jashai hatchling, barely weeks old, had watched the footage of Marla Reyes patching together a fusion regulator using a soup can, some stripped wire, and a humming chant she claimed was, "Just how I focus." In a classroom on the logic-dominated world of Jashai Prime, the hatchling raised its crystalline appendage and asked, "Why don't we try things that aren't supposed to work?" The silence that followed rippled through education cores, cultural archives, and entire knowledge networks. The question spread like fire through dry stardust. And then, others began to ask too. The vile, once fanatics of symmetry, began experimenting with asymmetrical architecture just to see what would happen. The Shatari introduced irrational variables into their AI training loops, and their machines got faster. The Arkham Council, cornered by mounting evidence, convened an emergency summit. But the most shocking moment came when the council chair herself, high-intellect Velinor, addressed the galaxy with a simple confession. We have built a civilization upon certainty, and now certainty is limiting us. She held up a copy of Marla's sketch, her one-page repair drawing titled, "Kinda like this, I think." No one laughed this time, because it had worked. In response, Earth released a public declaration, not of superiority, but of intent. We won't try to explain how we fix things, or why we do what we do, but we'll be there when it breaks, if you want us. And something ancient and strange began to stir in the heart of the galaxy. Admiration. Not just for humanity's capabilities, but for its refusal to be predictable, for its stubborn will to act, even when understanding lags behind. Marla Reyes, meanwhile, was back on her ship, eating cold noodles with a plasma torch warming her feet. She had no idea that children across 10 worlds were dressing up as mechanics for their planetary holidays, or that wrench sales had increased by 4,000%. The galaxy didn't just see Earth differently. It had been shown a door it didn't know existed, and now everyone wanted to step through it. The aftermath wasn't immediate. Galactic change never is. But like a wrench thrown into a perfectly ticking engine, the system would never run the same way again. The Arkham Council quietly retired several ancient protocols that had dictated strict logical isolation. A new category of solution was added to emergency flowcharts. Human-style improvisation, consult if available. Training programs for engineers across 8 species now included a strange new module, situational chaos response. The Jashai launched the Reyes Initiative, funding youth experiments based on intuition rather than data. On one world, a child solved a regional water crisis by rerouting condensation collectors with salvage festival lights, just to try it. It worked. The council took notice. Earth didn't boast. They didn't demand reward or tribute, but they did establish the Frontier Mechanics Guild, a loose confederation of tinkerers, shipwrights, and stubborn fixers, willing to assist anywhere the galaxy had stopped believing in solutions. Suddenly, humans weren't just tolerated, they were requested. And Marla? She refused every medal. She declined every speaking offer. She wasn't interested in politics or praise. She simply said, "Call me if something's broken." But she had changed too. In her private logs, she admitted something strange. For the first time in her life, she realized she wasn't alone in how she thought. That somewhere out there, whole species had started thinking sideways, bending rules, questioning perfection. She didn't start a revolution. She just reminded the galaxy how to try. And Earth, once seen as a primitive world of noise and contradiction, had become something more. A symbol not of dominance, but of determination. A place where failure wasn't shameful, where invention was born from desperation, and where one person with one tool could still matter. In the great turning of civilizations, sometimes the spark comes not from armies or ideologies, but from a single mind refusing to give up. And now, whenever something went wrong beyond explanation, when tech failed and logic broke down, there was a new saying whispered among crews in the dark: "Get me a human, and if you can't, get me a wrench." In a galaxy ruled by perfection, it wasn't precision that saved them. It was stubborn hands, a spark of madness, and one human who looked at the impossible and said, "Yeah, I can probably fix that."